I have walked through worlds that breathe. Not the kind built of concrete and noise, but those where stillness hums beneath the air, where every leaf, every grain of dust, seems aware of your presence. In those places, silence isn't empty. It's alive. It watches, listens, and somehow, it answers. There's a kind of peace that cannot be spoken, only felt, like the gentle rhythm of waves that never tire, or the quiet pulse of soil beneath bare feet. These worlds don't need to tell you that you belong. They show you. Through color, through movement, through the way light rests softly on the things it loves. Sometimes I wonder if we create these places, or if they were always there, waiting for us to remember them. Perhaps every world that feels alive is simply a reflection of our longing, a mirror shaped by the hope that something, somewhere, still wants us here. There is beauty in that idea, that a world can breathe back at us, whispering, "You are not alone, stay a while." It begins with small rituals, the kind that slow time just enough for life to notice you again. The sound of a river at dawn. The gentle repetition of familiar tasks. The rhythm of a day that doesn't demand, but invites. In such worlds, the ordinary becomes sacred, and it is there, among soft colors and quiet company, where I learned that peace itself can be alive. A small island, somewhere between dream and memory, taught me that lesson. When I first arrived, the world did not ask for my name. It simply welcomed me. A few words, a gentle greeting, and then, the quiet rhythm of life began to unfold. The days here are not measured by urgency, but by sunlight. By the slow drift of clouds, the sound of waves brushing the shore, and the way time itself seems to take a breath. Every morning, I'd step out into that tender stillness and feel seen. It's strange, isn't it? How something built from lines of code and pixels can feel warmer than the world outside. But that's what Animal Crossing was always meant to be, a quiet refuge, born from a longing for connection. Katsuya Iguchi, the game's creator, once said he imagined it while living far from his family, in Kyoto. He missed the feeling of returning home, of seeing familiar faces, of being part of something quiet but alive. So he created a world where that feeling could exist, not just for him, but for anyone who needed it. And perhaps that's why, for millions, this small island became more than a game. It became a ritual of belonging. A space where repetition wasn't monotony, but comfort. Where saying hello to the same faces every day wasn't routine, it was recognition. The world remembered you. During the long months of isolation, 2020, when cities fell silent, this world bloomed brighter than ever. In Animal Crossing, New Horizons, players sent letters to strangers, visited islands through glowing screens, and found community across oceans of distance. It wasn't about winning or achieving. It was about being, existing softly together. Every tree, every sound, every detail seemed to whisper that life could still be gentle. Even the smallest actions, watering flowers, rearranging a room, watching the sunset, became tiny prayers for stability in a shifting world. And when the night fell on that island, the sky filled with stars that didn't just belong to you. They belonged to everyone who has ever looked up, hoping to feel a little less alone. In those moments, I realized something profound. Peace does not demand silence. It simply asks to be noticed. But not all comfort is found in calm. Sometimes, it's born in the endlessness, in vast deserts, where there is nothing but sand, wind, and a distant figure moving beside you. Where words are unnecessary, and yet, understanding blooms anyway. Where the journey itself, not the destination, becomes the embrace. The first thing you notice is the silence. A silence so complete it almost hums, a vast golden expanse where time itself seems to dissolve. You stand there, a small figure wrapped in red cloth, facing mountains carved not from stone, but from light. There is no voice, no instruction, no dialogue. Only the wind, carrying grains of memory across the dunes. That world is journey, a landscape without words, yet filled with conversation. It was born from a question whispered by its creator, Genova Chen. What if a game could make strangers care for each other? No battles, no victories. Only the shared act of moving forward. And somewhere within that endless desert, I found another traveler. They did not speak. They only walked beside me, sometimes behind, sometimes ahead. But in their presence, the silence changed. The emptiness felt warm. We could not talk, only sing, a soft, glowing tone that echoed through the sand. And somehow, that was enough. Each note a greeting, a reassurance, a promise, I'm still here. Journey's brilliance lies in its restraint. It trusts you to feel, not to be told what to feel. Every color, every gust of wind, every ruin half buried in light, all whisper the same truth. Connection needs no explanation. When it was released in 2012 by that game company, critics called it transcendent. But for those who played it, it wasn't about art or design. It was about meeting someone who mattered, if only for a moment. Sometimes, I'd lose sight of my companion among the dunes, and a strange ache would fill the air. Then, far ahead, I'd see a flicker, a distant spark of movement. They waited, and I would run toward that light like a heartbeat returning to itself. At the journey's end, as our paths led into the mountain's radiant summit, I understood the silence differently. It wasn't emptiness. It was trust. A wordless faith that even in solitude, we are never truly alone. And when the final light consumed us both, I felt gratitude, not for reaching the end, but for having walked together. But not every place that feels alive must be built from imagination. Some already exist, quiet, sacred places where the air itself seems to remember. There are forests where roots hold stories older than language, and where every breath feels like a prayer. One of them lies at the foot of Mount Fuji, a sea of green so dense that even sound struggles to escape. They call it Aokigahara, but to those who listen, it has another name: the Sea of Trees. At the foot of Mount Fuji, roots coil over ancient lava, weaving a labyrinth that hums beneath the wind's breath. It is a place where even sound hesitates to exist, where the air feels thick with memory and unseen prayers. Many speak of it with unease, as if it swallows hope. Yet long before the whispers of sorrow, there were songs of reverence. Long ago, Aokigahara was known as a Yurei no Mori, a spiritual forest. A place where the boundary between life and spirit was soft, where the living went not to escape, but to listen. In the Shinto tradition, nature is not separate from the divine. It is divine. Mount Fuji is a sacred mountain, and the forest that wraps around it is believed to carry that same essence, a bridge between the human and the eternal. Every whisper of wind, every ripple of light through green, feels like the world reminding you that you are part of something living. Aokigahara is not silent because it is empty. It is silent because it is listening. Listening to every footstep, every heartbeat, every breath that enters its embrace. When you stand within it, time no longer moves forward. It settles. And you, for a moment, become part of the rhythm that has existed since before memory began. To some, it may seem haunting. But to those who truly listen, it feels like returning to an ancient home, one that speaks without sound and understands without asking. Yet beyond the forest's edge, there are other worlds that speak this same sacred language, of roots and wind, of unseen spirits and gentle belonging. Worlds that remind us that nature does not merely surround us, it knows us. It breathes, sighs, dreams, just as we do. From the imagination of a studio in Tokyo, these living worlds came alive again, painted in motion and sound. Worlds where soot turns to laughter, rivers cradle gods, and forests shelter the forgotten. The world of Studio Ghibli, where the ordinary meets the sacred, and the earth still dares to dream. There are places that live inside us long after the screen fades to black. Places where spirits laugh in the wind, and the scent of rain carries the memory of childhood. In the films of Studio Ghibli, the world itself breathes. Not as a backdrop, but as a presence, vast, tender, alive. When Hayao Miyazaki founded the studio in 1985, he wanted to restore something the modern world had forgotten, a quiet reverence for life itself. He once said, "It is the fate of modern life that we repeatedly lose touch with nature, the environment, the planet. But we try to regain it again and again. It's like a circle. In children's hearts and souls when they're born into the world, nature already exists deep inside them. So what I want to do in my work is tap into their souls." And perhaps that is what his films truly do. They help us remember what was never lost, only quieted. In My Neighbor Totoro, the forest is not simply a setting, it is a guardian. Totoro himself, a spirit born from moss and laughter, watches over two sisters as they learn to trust the world again. Every rustle of leaves, every drop of rain upon an open umbrella, feels like the earth itself whispering, "You are safe here." In Spirited Away, the world of spirits mirrors our own, full of chaos and wonder. Chihiro's journey through the bathhouse is not one of escape, but of remembrance, rediscovering courage and kindness in a world that had forgotten their value. Even the soot spirits, Susuwatari, find joy in small acts, carrying bits of coal like tiny prayers for light. And in Princess Mononoke, Miyazaki does not romanticize nature, he reveres it. The forest gods are not symbols, they are forces, breathing embodiments of balance. The film reminds us that destruction and renewal are woven together, that harmony is not peace without struggle, but coexistence through respect. What makes these worlds alive is not just their detail, the gentle sway of grass, the trembling of light, but their silences. Moments when nothing happens, yet everything feels. A kettle steaming in the morning. A breeze through an open window. A sigh that carries more emotion than 1,000 words. In those still moments, the films whisper the same truth that the island, the desert, and the forest once taught me. That life itself is sacred in its stillness. Miyazaki once compared animation to breathing, a quiet act of love repeated frame by frame. Perhaps that's why his worlds feel so real. They are built from patience, from care, from the belief that gentleness can still move hearts. And as I watch those stories unfold, I realize, these worlds do not end when the credits roll. They linger, in the way we watch the wind ripple through leaves, or pause to listen to the rain. They teach us that wonder is not found in distance, but in attention. There are nights when I still hear it, that soft hum the world makes when it remembers it is alive. The wind brushing through branches. The distant ripple of a stream. The silence between footsteps on an empty path. I used to think silence was something to escape, avoid, an absence. But the more I listened, the more I understood. Silence, too, can be a language. It speaks in pauses, in still air, in the warmth that lingers when words are no longer needed. The island, the desert, the forest, the spirits that breathe through stories. They were never truly separate places. They were echoes of the same heart, each one reminding me of something I had almost forgotten. That belonging does not mean possession. It means presence. When I sit beneath a tree and feel the wind move through it, I am home. When I share a quiet moment with another soul, human or not. I am understood. And when I step back into the noise of the world, I carry with me the stillness of those other worlds, the ones that taught me how to listen again. Because not every silence is desolation. Sometimes, it is comfort. A gentle reminder that the world can embrace us, too. So when the lights dim, and the last notes fade, don't rush to leave. Stay for a moment. Listen. The world is still here, breathing with you.